Hey guys, I'm Chris Buck and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks, and this week we're taking a look at my guitar solos on Friday Fretworks. Are they ad-lib or are they ad nauseum? Now, in case you missed it, a few weeks ago, Matheus Assalto announced that he was taking a brief hiatus from Instagram. It's a platform he's used to incredible effect over the last few years, admitting that as much as it had undoubtedly helped him and other musicians become more well-versed in the business side of the music industry, he'd become lost in the 15 to 60 second flawless performance videos after uncountable takes. And I thought this was really interesting. And obviously Matheus is an incredible guitar player. You've only got to watch him in pretty much any scenario to appreciate that, but it was cool to see someone of his influence and following giving us a momentary look behind the curtain and an appreciation that not all of his videos are one-take wonders, as you would be forgiven for thinking. I guess it's the musical equivalent of maybe the fashion industry's propensity for photoshopping models to within an inch of their life, giving a dangerous, warped expectation and understanding of what a human being actually looks like. With social media, you can record as many takes of a solo as your memory card will allow, throw it up online, and nobody need know it looks perfect first time. So when I received a question on Instagram addressing this directly last week in regard to whether my solos were rehearsed or entirely improvised, I thought this was long overdue a video, take an honest, candid look at it and hopefully get to the bottom of what is undoubtedly the situation for most guitar players online. Now, the first thing I would say is that my workflow for Friday Fretworks, generally speaking, is pretty quick. And for the most part, I will get an entire episode shot and edited in the course of a day. That may be a 12-hour day, but honestly, any longer than that, I can't say it necessarily holds my attention span in the way that it should. That involves making the backing track from scratch, recording and filming, obviously, the solo, or solos in some cases, writing the script, shooting the rest of the video, any shots of guitars, any external outside shots, and then editing it all together in Final Cut and often making the thumbnail all in the course of a day. However, undoubtedly the most time-consuming part of all that is getting a solo, or as I said, some case solos, that I'm happy with being on YouTube in perpetuity, but don't take an eternity to record. Under normal circumstances, for me at least, the development of a solo can be quite a slow, organic and natural process that really can take time. Now, one fairly extreme example of that would be the solo in the Buck & Emmons track called Slow Train, which you may have heard, I'll link above if not. But the solo in that song really developed over the course of several years, several tours actually around the UK, the US and Europe, very much finding its feet in, as I said, an organic and natural way. I can't say I ever really gave it any great deal of thought, to be honest, but the more I would tour it, the more I would play it every single night, it really started to take shape, and I ended up with a very defined start, middle and end section, and then it was just the sections in between that were yet to be decided. Now, in the next clip, I've kind of condensed that evolution down to several minutes just to show you how it evolved. The first clip is one of the first live outings, actually, of Slow Train, taken from Download Festival in 2016, where near enough the entire solo was entirely improvised, and subsequently pretty sort of uncoordinated and quite messy. Through the very last clip, which was a clip taken from the last tour we did before COVID kicked in, which was after the band's release, and very much, as you would expect, was a kind of live version of the album solo. Sounds a little bit like this. Friday Fretworks, I don't get anywhere near that amount of time to capture a solo that I'm going to be happy with. So what I've learned to do over the past few years, where possible and as efficiently as possible, is condense that process down into just a matter of hours. Now, I went through a phase where I would finish the backing tracks that I make for Friday Fretworks, sit straight in front of a camera, press record, and this inevitably proved to be incredibly frustrating. 10 takes would turn into 50, would sometimes turn into 100, and I would still be absolutely no closer to getting a take that I was happy with because I had very little idea of what I was going to play. Now, this is the fundamental difference between recording audio, as you would in a recording studio, and recording audio and video as you would for YouTube. In a studio, you can compile takes to get the perfect take, as many as it takes, literally. But obviously with video, you have to marry up what you are seeing not only on screen, but with what you are hearing, which does make it rather tricky. And the best way I found to do this is, bizarrely, not to play guitar. Now, I spoke about this a little bit in the solo breakdown video I did for the solo on Paul David's video a few months ago, but as I said, my first step in really getting towards the end solo is just to listen, whether it's 30, 40, 45, maybe an hour, however long it takes, whether I'm doing other chores, I'm filming, or I'm just eating lunch or setting up the camera and lights, just listening to the track on headphones just to get an idea of its structure, maybe develop some ideas or formalize some ideas of what I want to play, where I'm going to play them, the different sections, how they relate to one another. So by the time it comes to finally sit down in front of the camera, in theory, it's just a case of trying to get those ideas out in a structured, articulate and cogent way. I thought it'd be interesting to try and break down, to a certain extent, the solo from the start of today's video, give you a bit of an explanation as to why it took the amount of takes that it did, how they varied, how it developed, and ultimately, whether the process was efficient, I guess. And after a period of just listening to the track, sat down in front of the camera, Yamaha Revstar in hand, and pressed records. And in terms of the solo structure, it turned out to be relatively close to the final thing, just with much less intent, certainty and energy and groove. Pretty much everything that I would want in a final take of a solo. Sounded a little bit like this. Listening back, the first thing I felt immediately was that it just felt more like it should be a Stratocaster solo. So, after a few takes of just dialing in sounds and getting used to the guitar, this is one of the takes that I captured. terms of the solo's construction, it's again very similar to the Yamaha Revstar version, albeit with one or two sections that I really liked. Now, under normal studio circumstances, you would just save those sections to drop into a later take, but for the reasons I explained earlier, this isn't going to be possible with video, so it was just a case of trying to memorize those to the best of my ability to incorporate into further takes. Fast forward a few takes, and we got this one. Now, to be honest, even with the pick drop at the end, I was pretty happy with that take and relatively open-minded to the idea of it being the final take. But one thing I've learned from countless sessions and recording sessions over the years is that once you are fairly confident you have something in the can, it's always worth a few more, just in case you catch something with a little bit more freedom and a little bit more abandon that sense of certainty brings. And that is exactly what happened. Now, the final solo take, which you're about to hear, or heard at the start of this video, I would say isn't as precise as the last take, but had an energy and an attack in it, which I found to make for a more compelling solo overall. Sounds a little bit like this. And there you have it, 15 takes in total and probably just under an hour of actual recording time, although that's not counting the good 30 to 40 minutes I spent before I touched the guitar and certainly before I pressed record on the camera. I'm just listening to the track, acclimatizing myself with it, spending a bit of time formulating some ideas of what I want to say. Now, if you've never done this before, I can appreciate it probably is quite frustrating if you're kind of tearing at the gates, ready to press record, but for me at least, it expedites the process, honestly beyond measure. It really is invaluable. Now, if I had more time to record these solos, they would undoubtedly sound different, better, maybe, I guess, who knows, but that's really not the aim of the game, especially with Friday Fretworks. It's about capturing something that has that vibe and that energy that I want to express within the track, but honestly, that I'm still happy with being on YouTube in perpetuity, I guess, but doesn't take an eternity to record. I guess it's kind of like rehearsed improvisation, but honestly, if there is a take-home message to this video, it's that the perfection within a guitar take, or any musical take for that matter, can often lie within the imperfection. It's that vibe and that character, the inconsistencies and the idiosyncrasies that really make us unique, and for me at least, it's one of the reasons why most of my favourite albums, at least if they're not live, were recorded in a very live manner. That's where the magic happens. As ever, I'm Chris Buck. Thank you very much for watching Friday Fretworks. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already, and I shall see you next week for another episode. Cheers guys, take care, I'll see you soon.